everyone and welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing really well. This week I'm hoping to make a good start on my autumn sewing plans because let's face it, I do have quite a few. If you've missed my sewing plans videos then I will link them in the description down below, but I do have quite the list to be getting on with. I've been really inspired for autumn sewing this year, which is lovely because normally I am much more of a summer sewing person, but yeah, there's loads of inspiration around at the moment for me, so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it. So this week I'm starting with something that I have sewn quite a few times before, which is the patina blouse by Friday Pattern Company. I've been very inspired by all of the gingham blouses that are around on the high street at the moment, so I decided to sew myself up a gingham patina blouse. So if you've not seen the patina blouse, I'm sure you probably have. It's very popular and it's one of Friday Pattern Company's sort of older patterns. It is this lovely vintage style blouse, I would say. I'll pop in the line drawings as well, but it has this nice low V-neck, really lovely rounded vintage style flat collar and a yoke at the back as well, which looks really pretty. You can make it with either short or long sleeves. I'm going to make mine with long sleeves today, and the fabric I'm going to be using is this beautiful gingham fabric from Atelier Brunette. I've cut everything out already, as you would have seen, so I'm not going to disturb this pile too much. I do have it in a nice order, but I will just show you my fabric scraps because this fabric is really lovely. I don't know if anyone else does this, but I never really want to cut my fabric scraps. I could sort of level it off and just give myself a nice straight edge, but I never really want to do that just in case I can squeeze like another pattern piece out of a funny angle or something. One layer has this larger gingham print or woven gingham on it, and then the back of the fabric just has this smaller gingham check. So what I want to maybe do is just play around with the different sides of the gingham check. At the moment I think I'm going to have the collar in the smaller check and then the main body and sleeves and everything of the blouse I'll just have it in the larger check, and then when it comes to the cuff of the sleeves I might use the smaller side of the check for those. We will see. It's going to be a little bit of an experiment. But yeah, I hope you will enjoy coming along on a couple of sewing dates with me while I sew up this blouse. I think this is going to be quite a nice sort of chilled out, relaxing kind of vlog. I'm not going to do an instructional sew along by any means, but I will just take you through the process and we can sew this blouse together, and I will point out anything that I think is of interest to you along the way as well. Before I go though, I just wanted to share with you something that I received last week, which is very exciting. Babylon Leather, a company who produce leather bag kits, kindly asked me if I would like to try out one of their leather bag kits. I have never made a leather bag before and I've never done any kind of leather work either, so I thought this would be a really interesting project for me to try. I decided that I wanted to try one of their beginner leather tote bag kits because, as I say, I've never done any leather work before, so it's going to be something new to me. So the kit has arrived and it includes all of the bits and pieces that you need to sew your own leather bag. And I also got a couple of free gifts as well. This cute little bag charm and also a really pretty silk scarf that you can just use to tie around the bag for a bit of an accessory as well. The kit includes all of the hardware, all the tools, all the cotton, all of the bits and pieces that you need to sew the bag, so you don't need to worry about buying any of that. And everything is cut out for you as well, so you don't actually need to do any of the cutting of the leather either. And then all of the straps are ready cut for you, and they also have all of the holes included in them as well, which I thought was really helpful. And it does make the whole process seem a little bit less daunting. I went for a khaki colour of leather, which is this lovely colour. It's more of a brown khaki, and I think that's the kind of colour that I tend to go for if I'm ever buying a bag. So Babylon Leather claim to make their kits really beginner friendly and really easy to get started with. They actually have video tutorials for all of their bags, which I'm really pleased about because I find it much easier sometimes to follow along with a video than I do with written instructions. So all of the leather is top grain cowhide and full grain cowhide too. Babylon Leather have actually given me a discount code for 10% off of any order that you might want to place on their website. And that is on top of any current offers that they already have running on the website too. So it does reduce the price quite significantly. I'll put my discount code and the link to their website in the description below this video so that after you've finished watching this you can pop over and check out Babylon Leather and see if there's anything that takes your fancy. And of course I'll share the process with you too and let you know how I get on. Good morning, we're at the next day and I did not get any sewing done yesterday, unfortunately, but I am all prepared and ready to go now this morning. So I'm hoping for a good block of sewing today. So I've made a couple of decisions now, I think, about how I want the blouse to look. And I think I've decided that I'm going to go for the smaller check for the body of the blouse and then the larger check for the collar. And I'm going to use the larger check on the cuffs and also the back yoke as well. And I think that that will give it a little bit more interest. So this morning I've set everything up and I've done all of the prep work that I needed to do, like stay stitching, marking the darts and just doing all the interfacing. So the first thing that we need to do on the blouse is actually sew the collar, which is my favourite part. I do love sewing a collar. So we join the collar at the back so that it sits like that. Quite a lovely big collar, and it's a nice flat collar as well. So the collar is just attached flat to the blouse, which is always a little bit easier than doing a collar on a stand or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the collar now and I will show you how it looks. I'm going to have to make sure that I get my head around which check is going which way, especially when I come to do the burrito method for the back yoke. I think that's going to be a little bit of a head scratcher, but hopefully we'll get there. So the collar and the facing are now all prepared, but they're not actually attached until a little bit later on. So the next thing I need to do is actually sew the body of the blouse. So I need to sew the darts of the fronts and then we're on to the back yoke. So there we have the finished burrito method of the yoke. I absolutely love that finish now. It's such a weird one, isn't it? Because when you first do it, you're just like, what on earth is happening here? I can't see how this is going to work out. But then once you get it, you just kind of know how to do it quite quickly and easily. I love that finish, my favourite finish. So we've got a little bit of something that looks like a blouse now, and you can see where I've been just doing my sort of playing around with the gingham checks. So next we're on to doing the collar part. So that is just all sewn in flat, and then the facing is sewn on the top and then turned to the inside, so it's a nice neat finish. I have to say there are some really lovely finishes in this patina blouse and it's a really enjoyable sew as well. after what feels like quite a long while of sewing, the facing is now on as well. It does feel like everything gets a little bit bulky around the neckline because you have the double yoke facing where the burrito method is kind of finished, then you've got the interface collar, and then you've got the facing on top. So there's quite a lot of sort of trimming and clipping and pressing to get everything to lay nicely, but that is all done now. The next thing we do is actually do the binding for the sleeve cuffs. So the sleeves have this slit in them that you cut when you're cutting out the fabric. And then we've got this lovely little binding piece that you cut, and you just bind the edge of that. So you kind of open out that slit and attach the binding to that long edge, and then that folds inside. So that will form the placket, and then we attach the cuff, and the sleeves at the bottom are just gathered into that cuff as well. So a little bit more fiddly sewing, but it gives, again, a really nice neat finish. So that is the placket binding done, and I don't want to blow my own trumpet here, but I think that is probably the neatest I've ever got that binding. It's kind of fiddly to do because you have to stretch out that split so that you've got a almost a straight line, and then you kind of bind the edge, but you're going over the seam. You're not flipping the binding to the inside, if that makes sense. And then you sew a little diagonal across the top of the binding from the inside, so that when your sleeve is done, you will have that kind of placket opening, and then that will obviously be sewn into the cuff at a later stage. So the sleeves of the patina are put in flat. So you gather the top of the sleeve and then you sew it in flat across the top of the shoulder seam, and then you go up the sleeve and down the side seam. So next we are gathering the top of the sleeve and then putting it into the blouse. Right, so my camera just ran out of memory and I had to copy all of the files over onto the computer. So while I was just waiting for that to happen, I couldn't really film anything, so I just quickly turned up the hem at the bottom. So I haven't gone about the hem in the way the pattern tells you to. All I've done is just overlocked the bottom and then just turned up a very small hem, because I know from past times making this blouse that it does come up quite short, and I will most often be tucking this in. I just wanted to gain back a smidgen of extra length there. So I just went for a teeny tiny hem. I've got the cuffs to do next, and then all of the buttons and buttonholes. We're nearly there now actually. It's just gathering the bottom of the sleeves into the cuffs and then doing the button and buttonholes. So let's continue and we'll see how we get on. is a few days later in the week now. When I'd finished my blouse, it was so dark I just couldn't film the ending of this video because the electric light just looked awful. So I decided to wait until the light was a little bit better and then just film the ending to this video. So here is my finished blouse, and I have to say I am so pleased with this blouse now that it's done. I think it worked really well using this gingham, and I love the fact that you can use either side of the gingham just to switch things up and just add a little bit more interest. So I was originally going to use the larger gingham for the body of the blouse and the smaller for the collar, but I ended up doing the opposite in the end, which I think feels better for me actually. I think the larger gingham looks a little bit too loud for me, and I don't know why. It's just one of those things. I just felt better with the majority of the blouse being the smaller gingham, and I think, yeah, that's just worked nicely for me. But obviously you could switch it up and do it the other way around if you wanted to. So I've got the larger gingham on the collar and also at the cuffs as well, and then at the back where the yoke is, I've just used the larger gingham too. And yeah, it's just a little bit of interest, not too much, nothing too out there, but I think it just works really nicely. So the patina blouse worked so well for this kind of gingham blouse. I think this is really kind of on trend. I think there are loads of blouses around like this on the high street with these collars, just the gingham and the voluminous cuffs and the gathering and things. I think the patina works really nicely, but obviously if you have a preferred blouse pattern in your own pattern collection, you could do exactly the same and just use a gingham fabric of your choice to sew up something similar to what's around on the high street at the moment. I love the kind of contrast between the vintage style of this blouse and the sort of country nature of the gingham. I think it gives a really fun contrast, and I think I'm going to enjoy wearing this throughout the autumn and winter time. I love this fabric as well. This fabric is so beautiful. I'm not always a massive fan of double gauze, particularly the crinkly kind of double gauze that you can get. I don't really like sewing with or wearing that kind of double gauze, but this one is really lovely. It's not crinkly, it just feels soft and cozy and that little bit thicker, so it's going to add a little bit of warmth for autumn and winter wear. There are quite a few colours on the Atelier Brunette like fabric selection. This one was rust. There's also a sort of a beigey brown that I've got my eye on as well. So you never know, there might be another blouse coming up in that colour too. So thanks so much for joining me for today's video. I really hope you've enjoyed coming along with me while I've been sewing up my first official autumn make. The first thing to tick off of my autumn makes list. If you have enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you just gave it a like, and also if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. It really does help me out with the algorithm and that kind of thing, but also of course it just ensures that you get notified of my videos when I do post them every Sunday. I also have a Patreon, as I mentioned earlier in the video, where I share a little bit more in-depth videos and also one extra behind the scenes video a month as well. So I'll pop the link for that down below in the video description so you can pop over and check it out if you want to. You can also follow me over on Instagram at Made by Sally Gauntlet, and I'd love to have you as a follower over there too. I think that's everything I need to say, so otherwise take care everyone, have a really great week, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care, bye.